Hey everyone, today I'm here once again with my good handsome friend Christian. It has been far too long since you've been in the video, and we're about to fix that. And today we're going to be doing a video on these iron sights here. Now these ones specifically are from Griffin Armament, and currently we have them attached to this 10.3 inch pistol. Now, we'll talk about the different variations of how you can mount these things, but as you can see, currently we have them mounted in line with the top of that upper receiver. But again, we'll dig into the offset options later on in the video. But first, obviously, if we're talking about something that you put to a gun that you're going to shoot things through, let's go ahead and cut to some shooting footage, and we'll talk a little bit more about the specifics of these iron sights.
Alright, so we're looking at the Griffin Armament iron sights. Now, right off the bat, these things are just your manual flip up. They don't have the little spring-loaded thing, so you got to actively pull them up. Other than that, they lock in nice and tight. The ball detent is good. It's solid down, solid up. They don't wiggle when they're down. I have a red dot that I use on this, so they're down a lot, and they just sit right there. There's no play. You don't hear them when you're shooting. The adjustments is pretty easy. You got your adjustment screw on the front for left and right. You have the front post, which is your standard A2 front post. You can swap that out with something aftermarket. I like the standard A2 front post. Your rear aperture is really small. It's not as small as it can be, but it's kind of right in the middle of the big aperture and the smallest aperture, which I like because it gives a really good sight picture. The ring around it's nice and small, so you're not obscuring your view with the big old sight. The sights also come with a set screw here, which means you can take them off of this flat mounting and put them on a 45-degree offset mounting if you want to run a scope. Obviously, I'm not going to run a scope on this because it's only 10.5 inches, but if I want to someday, I will. One of the good things about these is how low profile they are. Most of the sights, they sit way up here. You have to use the risers and stuff. With a regular standard scope mount, you can co-witness on these things and run it just fine. If you wanted to be all weird about it, you can put a scope way up here and run underneath. You can cut that part out. You cut that part right out.
So there's really not a whole lot else to say about these. We've gone over Christian's gone over the features, and they just work. The things that I like about these is, to me, I see them as the iron sights for someone who knows they should have backup irons, but doesn't want something big and obtrusive on their gun. These are about as minimalistic as I would comfortably go with a set of irons that I'm going to be putting on a rifle that I'm going to fight with. But with modern optics the way they are, the likelihood of me having to use my irons is pretty low, but I still want them there, and to me that's what these fit perfectly. They're nice, lightweight, compact, low profile sights that can go into action when you need them, and as you've seen from us shooting offhand at 100 yards, still plenty accurate. Now,
they're more accurate than I am.
Yeah, absolutely. As are most things, at least for myself. Most things I shoot are more accurate than I am. Couple things, if I can level some criticisms, and you also having experience, you can say whether or not you find these criticisms valid.
Okay.
I have a hard time slightly with, depending on the conditions, lifting at least the rear sight into action, and the front sight slightly, unless I grip it very intentionally, getting it into action, especially when it's wet outside. That's just something I've noticed. Now, there are recesses to be able to do it, but under stress, I have run into some issues there. But that's a pretty minor thing. Once you have time with them, once you've gotten used to them, they're really not that bad, and they have designed them to have those cutouts where you can still get pressure on them. You just have to be diligent about where you're actually grabbing onto them. The other thing is the size of the aperture. I know you said you like that in between.
I do.
If I'm stuck with one, I'd rather it be just a little bit bigger, and maybe that's because we have it on a 10.3 inch upper right now. If I had it on a 20 inch, maybe I would really like that smaller thing. So maybe that's just a very individual thing. But just for me on the 10.3, I wish it was just a little bit bigger. But what do you think about those two things I said?
Well, you're definitely right about it's the flippability. It's not easy. It's just not something you could reach up and do with one thumb. You know, I can't get it from there with one thumb. And this one, you can get under it because it's got a gap, and you can get under it here. This one doesn't. It's got a recess, but it's so far forward that it's really difficult unless you got a good fingernail on your finger. You really get under there. You got to reach down, grab it with your thumb and forefinger, and pull it up. That's what you have to do. So you have to deliberately want to put those things up. They're not going to just pop up for you.
Yeah.
That, however, is not a drawback for me, really, because if I'm going to use them, they're going to be up and stay up. I'm not going to have to try to get them up in a hurry, because I'm not going to put them down if I'm walking a line or doing something like that. Those are just going to stay up.
Sure.
And if I've got my optic on there, they're just going to stay down. So there's no real reason for me to need to access them quickly. As far as the aperture goes, the reason why I like this aperture on this length of gun is because this size aperture perfectly frames these two little points and the dead center. So I can center that in this aperture just visually alone. It's a perfect frame for this front sight. I think smaller would obscure the side post and not give me my left or right as easy, and larger, same basic thing. But this aperture, at least at this distance, is perfectly suited to perfectly frame that in. So all I've got to do is put it in frame, and I'm on target. Bang, bang, bang. Not a problem at all.
I think that's fair. And I will say one thing too, as far as it being difficult to lift them up into action. What that does tell you though is just how positive those ball detents are, as he mentioned earlier. And I would much rather it take a little bit more effort to get them into action, as long as I know they're going to stay up when I need them to stay up.
They'll definitely stay up. They will stay up. You have to want to put them down.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just bump them and make them fall down.
Yeah.
You got to really put them down. So I like the way the stiffness of it and the positive lockup that they have there.
Yeah. So again, those are that's really all there is to say. Overall, I really like these, and I do like the fact that it comes with the hardware to mount it offset if you wanted to. I think a lot of companies overlook that, and you're stuck with either one or the other. We've tested options in the past where you can do both with the same setup. Most people don't need that type of utility, so at least having it in a way where you have all the hardware required to mount it one way or the other, I think is a really neat thing that Griffin Armament's doing. You guys have seen me review Griffin Armament suppressors on here. I've owned Griffin Armament muzzle devices. They make good stuff. So when I saw that they were making iron sights, I was pretty stoked about it. And I don't think these disappoint. Again, I have my little things here or there that I wish were maybe slightly different. But overall, I think they're excellent for what they are.
Well, honestly, one of the things that sold me on this gun, which is why I did in fact buy it from you, was the sights. The sights, I really like those sights. I've shot a lot of ARs with a lot of different sight configurations. As far as irons go, I was really kind of take or leave it. But I wouldn't have wanted this gun without these sights. Yeah,
he's been talking about those sights ever since the first time he shot this, when it still belonged to me. He's been a really big fan of these. And,
very big fan.
Again, I like them too. I just, there's just a couple little things there that I think keep it from being the best it possibly could.
Nothing's ever perfect for you.
Nothing's ever perfect for me. But that's almost a good thing. I think it's always good to have a couple things, at least as a gear reviewer, that maybe if this were slightly different, maybe if that was slightly different. But again, perfectly functional. And again, I think they are excellent for the people who know they need iron sights but want them to be as out of the way as possible, but still there when they need them.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's, again, pretty much all there is to it. Anything else you want to add?
Yep.
So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and throw those in the comment section down below. If you have any direct experience with these, definitely let us know about that as well. I think it's very valuable to have as diverse of experience with a product as possible, especially if you've run them in the offset configuration. Definitely let us know about that, since we've only ever run them in line, and I only anticipate us running them in line. Definitely let us know what you think about that.
We're going to do the offset.
We'll see.
I'm going to do the offset and I'll make my own video.
Okay. So be on the lookout for that at some point. But again, really big fan of them. I'll have the link in the description on the sources that I can. Obviously not YouTube, but if you watch this on like Full 30 or Gunstreamer, I'll have the links down there for that, because YouTube is a thing. But anyway, if you are at all interested in supporting this channel financially, go ahead and check out my Patreon page. We upload all the content there early, including we have some exclusive content like our rant about things going on in the Star Wars franchise, which, you know, I decided to throw up for my patrons because
it was hilarious.
It was entertaining. We do monthly live streams. We do have a Discord server set up so we can have a little bit more immediate interaction throughout the months. It's just an overall good time.
You used to do a lot of videos with me, but then I got like shoveled to the side for some reason or other. I don't know what it is.
And yet I brought him back. So anyway, with all that said, as always, I hope you got something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.